Hi, this is Rudy with ATG USA. Today we'll be discussing Test Drive to BIM. This will be part one, part of our six-part series of this Test Drive to BIM. Today we'll be discussing the Autodesk software Revit Architecture 2015. The level of this workshop is going to be an intermediate workshop. So with that said, we're going to jump into this meeting, and hopefully you'll have a better insight on the BIM process and how that works. So building information modeling, it's an intelligent model-based process that provides value across the life cycle of a project. That's any project. BIM is the first truly global digital technology and will soon be deployed in every country in the world. The BIM process involves creating and using an intelligent 3D model to inform and communicate project decisions. A process shift to BIM information modeling can fundamentally improve the way we plan, design, build, and manage our building infrastructure. The U.S. McGraw Construction Research BIM from 2007-2012 shows an expansion of the BIM adoption over that period. The U.S. is not the only country implementing this BIM software. Scandinavia, Australia, more recently South Korea have adopted the BIM and are utilizing that as well. The BIM also contains most of the data needed for building energy performance analysis. The building and properties in BIM can be used to automatically create an input file for building energy simulation and save a significant amount of time and effort on your side. Moreover, automation of this process reduces errors and mismatches in the building energy simulation process. As you can see with this diagram, the adoption of BIM in major regions of the U.S. has consistently risen. This illustration shows and displays the implementations from 2009 to 2012. Much of the growth across the region is driven by the large amount of demand in healthcare. Also going on nationally, project types particularly well suited for the BIM process. The forecast for the 2014 implementation shows growth commitment. This is a graphical representation of who's actually implementing BIM in the design, development, and construction processes. The architects are displayed the strongest implementation and drive into the increase of demand for BIM. Other business benefits that includes the improved design process, better and continuous evaluation of the design in terms of aesthetics, performance, and brief fulfillment offered by products like Navisworks. We also have better communication of the design. That also works for our clients in other stages of that process. Coordination of construction and specification information, for example, with links to national building specifications in Revit. Environmental assessments that covers the analysis of thermal performance, lighting, fluid dynamics, environmental impact assessments as well. Also allows for quicker and easier design revisions. So parametric elements specifically in Revit are more flexible and are easier to modify at any stage of the traditional CAD. Consistency of standards across a project, and it is easier to maintain consistency in parametric elements. So how is this different from CAD? The efficiency and coordination in traditional design process, individual 2D designs are passed between consultants and manually checked. With BIM, the intelligent models of the building can not only be passed between consultants, but also combined into a single model and checked with class detection software to ensure coordination. So everything can be quickly accessed through the project browser. This is faster. Also reduces the chance of human error, as information does not have to be continually recreated. This also is a reduced errors on the emissions. So all design information is stored into a single coordinated model, enabling you to generate every schedule, drawing sheet, and 2D, 3D views directly from the model. Revisions to your design are automatically updated updated, minimizing error and emissions. So as you can see in the project browsers, kind of have all of that information stored into one model. Also, the rendering and visualization of the BIM model also creates a high-quality photorealistic of 3D renderings, which build a visualization tool that impresses your clients and helps you win business ultimately. In this workshop one, we're going to be covering some topics here, building a mass model. We'll be creating a new solid form. We'll be joining some of those forms together. We're going to be creating a solid and void. We're going to be creating a lofted form out of that. And finally, we'll be saving and loading that into a project. So what that looks like, we're going to go ahead and start with a mass. A mass is a solid or void form typically used for conceptual design and a sketch phase of a design. So with the massing tools available in Revit architecture, you're able to create a composition with free forms quite easily. So smooth corners, curved walls, curved holes, in walls are all possibilities with the massing tools. Some of the methods that are provided in Revit that allow you to do this is one of the conceptual math in Revit. It's first to make a conceptual family, so you can utilize some of the family content that's provided in the Imperial Library to produce and use and manipulate some of this mass content to be able to build that. The second way is to make an in-place mass. So you'll notice that icon that I just pulled up there. That'll give you the option to create a mass in place. So furthermore, in the workshop, we'll be using the existing mass modeling tools and some of the additional mass modeling tools inside Revit. So after completing my sketches for the conceptual design, the next step is to select the sketch and create a form. So in the exercise, I'll be using a solid and void forms to create the pitched roof, much like what you see here, and then furthermore, resulting in a roof like this. Furthermore, we'll be exploring and executing creating a lofted form, existing project, and loading our created mass model into a project. So this is the icon that you'll be using within the family to load that into a project once it's created. So you might be asking, well, what does this look like? You know, all these icons and all these illustrations I'll show you are actually from within Revit and within our examples and our projects what we're going to be doing. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our Revit software, and we're going to go through that workshop and kind of go into depth on what that process looks like. Now I'm going to go ahead, and this is our Revit interface. I'm just going to go ahead and open up a file here. Now, as I explained before, we're going to be utilizing a already constructed, partially constructed 3D mass model, and we're going to manipulate and add some more content to it, and kind of go into depth on that process that we talked about earlier. So I'm just going to hit this home key, utilize my 3D cube here to manipulate the model and maneuver around as I need to. Now, using my drawing tools here, I'm going to go ahead and first activate my levels. These are my levels that I've already pre-established. These are reference planes in which I can draw from. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of those planes. And now, as you notice here, my contextual tab at the top, I've now been prompted to have access to my drawing tools up here in my ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw you know, a square here. I'm going to use some of my reference points that I've already established. I'm going to draw that in there. So once that's being drawn, I'm going to go ahead and I can select Escape. I can now select my form that I've drawn. And now here in my ribbon, you notice in my contextual tab, I have been prompted to put some more editing features here. Now that I've created my area that I'm going to extrude and I'm going to create my form from, I'm going to go ahead and select that and select solid form. Now that I've created this mask, I want to be able to attach this mask to my other objects. So I'm going to go ahead and just click away. And in my Modify tab right here, we have the option of joining geometry. So with that selected here, I'll be able to select first my geometry that I want to join, and then secondary, the geometry that I'd like to join that with. So repeating that same process, I'm going to go ahead and go to my east side here, and I'm going to go ahead and join these two solid masses together as well. So now if I click off, you can use your Modify button here to exit your commands, or you can also use your Escape button. That's quite similar to the AutoCAD procedures. If you're used to using your Escape key quite frequently, you can migrate that over in Revit and use your Escape key to exit out of some of your commands there. So zooming into our east side here, once we've already combined our mass models together, we're going to utilize some of my sketches here that I have to create that pitched roof that we were talking about earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and select this triangle up here at the left, and I'm going to go ahead and create a form out of this as well. So when creating this solid form, I now have the option to manipulate it with these options here. This is kind of off my roof area. I want to utilize these grips here to move this one to the direction that I want to extrude this to. So once I bring this out to over the roof here, I can now use my temporary dimensions to add a value in here. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and add in 38 feet. Revit automatically identifies units as feet. So if I just type in 38, it's going to identify that as feet. If I type in inches, of course, it's going to be as inches as well. So now you can see I've extruded that over from that point 38 feet over this area, this building area here. I can then select out or escape. Now I want to then create a solid form, and I want to extrude that this way here. So I'm going to go ahead and just come to my void form, create my void form. So now again with my arrows, I have the ability to be able to manipulate this solid mass and maneuver it in whichever direction that I please. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in a value here. I'm going to type in 36. So with that solid form, what it has enabled me to create this roof type here that you see and what's illustrated right now. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is move over to this area here, and that's going to be creating the lofted form that we previously discussed about. I have my previously sketched out direction here where I want this to be extruded out from. And I also have my shape. So I've established my shape on where I want that to be driven in my path. So I have to come in here and select, you can select your control key and select both of those forms. And then come up here and select solid form. That's going to create that solid form that I had established and then the route that I had established it to. So again, this is for conceptual design. This is a quicker way to be able to quickly draw your content and then bring it into a project and apply materials to it, whether it's roof, walls, and such like that. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and create another extrusion with my plane already being established as my working plane. I can then maneuver using my 3D cube here to maneuver around the model and further draw some more content in here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw and cover this. I want to enclose this roof, this overhang here. So I'm just going to use my drawing tools to draw a square. I can set the offset for my content, whatever I'm drawing. If not, it's going to set it to a default offset. That's not a problem. That's something that you can manipulate later. So with that said, I'm just going to go ahead and create a solid form out of that. Now I'm using my shift key to kind of hold down my center button here. As you can see, that's not exactly where I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and alter that a little bit. So I'm going to use some of my view cubes here, some of my views here. I'm going to select my form. And I'm going to go ahead and maneuver this up. And some errors here. A lot of times you want to make sure that you select the object. A good way to do that is to, instead of selecting a surface of the object, you want to select the entire form. So I want to hover over it and press Tab until I'm able to select the entire form. And now I'm able to maneuver it and move it where I need to. So now you can see my temporary dimensions have been displayed. So it's showing I have it flush up to the ceiling here, but it's at 10 feet in depth. I want to go ahead and change that. I'm going to change that to a foot. And again, I might be able to move that up here to the top of my form. Making sure that my grip settings are turned on as well. A way that you can manage your grip settings if you go to your Manage tab here and you go to your snaps. This is quite similar to what's displayed in your AutoCAD environment. You're going to notice all your snap settings here. You want to make sure that these are all selected just so it can allow you to easily be able to snap to those points and those intersections. All right, so with that created, we have a good, solid, conceptual design that we have here. So with that said, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this. You have the option of saving this as well. You can save this to a default location, whether it's your desktop or on a server. That way you can insert that and bring that into a project later. So if I wanted to do that, I can save it. Or if I wanted to work within this project, I can just minimize this solid form. And now I'm going to go ahead and open up a project that I've already established. So there's multiple ways of inserting this content in. Again, if I save this to a different location, one way that I would do this, and when this pops up, I'll show you how to do that. So this is a blank model. As you can see, I've already established some of my levels here and already created them. I want to bring this model in on my ground floor, so I want to make sure that that's first off, I want to make sure that that's active. So a couple of ways of bringing in this mass object, this mass model that I've created. So if you go to your Insert tab here, and you go into Load Family, because essentially it's a family. So .rfa is what the extension is going to be for a family. And so I can then navigate to my area to locate that and bring that into the project. When I bring that into the project, where I'll be able to locate that is going to be in my Architectural tab. And I'll go to my components. Now it's going to be stored into my components here, where I'll be able to select, and I'll go to my properties here. I'll be able to select the content and drop it into my project. So as of now, as you can see in my properties here, I don't have my mass model logged in or brought into this project. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So just using a Control tab to switch windows, I now am able to quickly just navigate back to my model massing that I had previously constructed. And I'm going to go ahead and load that into the project. So up here at the ribbon, you'll locate the family editor, and I'm able to load that into the project. So if I have multiple projects open, it's going to automatically, it's going to give me a list, generate a list of the projects that are available. That way I can select and bring in. In this case, I only have one project open, so it's automatically going to load that into that project. This is just telling me here, just a little information notification box. It's telling me that Revit has enabled the show mass model mode. So you want to make sure that your visibility settings are turned on, and I'm just going to go ahead and escape real quick. If you type in VG, it's a quick way to go to your visual graphics. In a view, you have the option that anything that's going to be a solid mass is going to be under model categories, under mass. So I'm going to type M to quickly navigate there. You want to make sure that this option is turned on. if this option is not turned on, when you bring a solid mass in, it won't be visible in your view. So that's one of the first things that you want to make sure that is turned on in your visual graphics within your view so that you're able to see that content. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box and say OK to that. So now if I go back to my architecture tab and my component here, I can select that, and now I can see that my model mass that I have previously loaded in is now populated in my property. So I'm able to select that model and bring that in. So before placing this onto a sheet, again, if we note that I'm on my ground floor plan here, that's going to be my active work plane that I'm setting this model in. Also, you also have the option of placing this in a different plane within this view. So if I come with my options bar here and I can select which level I want to set this to. I want to set this in my ground floor level, so I'm going to go ahead and set that here. There's not a project location specified. Usually, when you're starting a project, you want to first identify your project location, the geological location, and the coordinates of where that project's being set, and use a reference point to bring your solid mass into Revit in those coordinates. In this case, I'm just going to place it into our model just for representation purposes. Once that's placed, I can then hit my escape bar, my escape key, or just hit my modify key up here. So now I have my solid mass in here. I want to first pin it. Anytime you bring content into your Revit model, especially if you're bringing it into an exact location, geological location, you want to make sure that you always come in and you want to make sure that you pin this option, you pin this object. A lot of times working within Revit, whether it's viewing or moving in, small content around anywhere, you can easily select the model and maneuver it around a foot or so, and that can cause a lot of problems as far as coordination and future design options, and it can cause a lot of problems in getting things mixed around for you. So you want to make sure that you pin that option. To verify if it's pinned, when you select it, you'll see this pin icon here representing that it's pinned. So then selecting off of that, now that that's part of the model, it's set on the ground floor, I'm able to go to my 3D view here. I can either go to I've already established a 3D view here, or I can come up to my quick access toolbar here, and I can select my home icon, which is the icon to create a 3D view. I can select that, and that's going to automatically take me to a 3D view of what's in the model. So as you can see, there's my solid mass. It's been placed and it's been pinned. There's different visual styles that you can apply to this mass to represent and show it better. So that's located at the bottom of the screen of every view and within Revit. So I'm able to select this and change it to fine. Also being able to change this to consistent colors to kind of have a better realistic view of what my model category looks like. Now, since this is just a conceptual mass, there's no building elements attached to this. There's no roof. There's no walls. As you can see, it's all one object. And if we go to our properties, it's going to display my model mass here. So within Revit now, I'm able to, since I've already had my levels established here, I'm able to go to my different levels and see the floor plan being represented on those different levels since I brought it into my ground floor plan. Now, in our later workshops, we're going to go through and create, using our solid mass, we're going to create the floors associated to this mass. We're going to go ahead and put in a roof and do some further exercises on using this same mass model. So then going back to our slide here, we're going to kind of show what that's going to, content and what we're going to go over in our next workshop. If you go to register on www.acgusa.com, if you go to events, you want to make sure that you add the events here. We're going to talk about, in our second workshop, it's going to talk about creating the mass floors. We're going to analyze the mass floor area. We're going to create, the schedules and 4 mass elements. We'll be able to adjust the schedule formatting to display vital information from the model, and also professional requirements that involve in that model. We'll modify and update the model and perform an energy analysis on that. And furthermore, we'll view the results and compare the information in a report. So with that said, I want to definitely encourage anybody that's viewing in this workshop to go online and register in the above referenced link and go and attend our workshop 2, and that'll be continuing our part 2 for the test drive to BIM. That's going to be in December 3rd from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to try to stay within that time frame there. Looking forward to having y'all attend. And again, this is going to be workshop 2, December 3rd, 2014, and that's of 6. So you want to make sure that you keep looking at these workshops and attending them. We're also posting videos online. That way you can keep up to date. So if you come in late into the workshops, you can always view our earlier workshops. So with that said, again, I'd like to thank you for attending our workshop 1, Test Drive to BIM Part 1, and hope to see a whole bunch of people attend in our next workshop.